Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to this show. We're going to do a transfer show. I've got an unbelievable panel, lit panel, elite guests, and we're going to be discussing all the transfer rumors that are happening. Some that's breaking now, some that's been breaking the last couple of days. We're going to keep you up to date as best that we can. Big up to my panel. Dan, back again on the channel. How are you, my brother?
Yeah, all good, mate. Loads going down in football world at the moment, even though the season's finished. So, yeah, happy to be here, happy to chat. Thanks for having me on. Hope the panel's all good.
Come on, man. You're always welcome, bro. Do me a favor in the chat. Make sure you're following Dan. If you're not already, make sure you're hitting the like and the subscribe button as well. We're so close to 20K, which is the target we've been wanting for a long time. So let's get there, man. We're only a few hundred away. Pete, big up, man. Loaded Mag and UFC. Make sure you're following it. Make sure you know who Pete is. I'm sure you will know well from this channel. If you don't, make sure you go over there with his Newcastle lads. Best content for Newcastle by far. How are you, Pete?
All good, all good. Pleasure to be back with you boys and back on the channel again. Looking forward to talking lots of football talk from lots of different clubs. It should be an interesting one, not going to lie.
Yeah, big up, man. It will. Martin is back from his little break. How are things, mate? Have you got over the FA Cup final yet, sir?
Oh, yeah. Bit of a crap move.
That's nice. That's nice and simple. At least you knew you were crap. At least some Man City fans were crying about it.
You know me, Dan. I don't sugarcoat it, mate. We were shit. We move on.
Big up, man. Mo, back in the house, bro. Always a pleasure, man. How are you?
Great to be here. Thank you so much for having us. Let's chat charges.
Always no. Mo and Martin.
I knew he was
I put Mo and Martin down the bottom for a reason. That they're going to be fighting. I can feel it already. Do you know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm going to actually move to Dan first because we were just chatting and there's some breaking around Olise and Chelsea. Chelsea are now favourites for Olise. Manchester United, not so much. Newcastle, to be fair, were kind of linked. Arsenal not really seem to be sniffing around too much as I'd like them to. Chelsea favourites. Why do you think that is, Dan, first of all? And would you be excited if you got him?
Yeah, I think mainly it's probably down to Joe Shields and the relationship with the player, as I think the Cole Palmer deal was, as I think the Lavia deal was. I think he's got a real exceptional way of building a relationship with players and convincing them to be part of projects. We saw that at Southampton. We're seeing it now at Chelsea. I mean, look, the reason for that is, in case people don't know, Olise was at City as a youngster, so that's where the link comes from. I would be over the moon. I think Olise is the type of name that's a statement, no matter who signs him in the Premier League. If he went to City, he wouldn't look out of place. If he went to any of the other big teams, it would be a serious move. If he went to PSG, I don't think it would be out of place. It's that kind of name. The issue I have is with injuries. I just wonder how consistently he can stay fit in a Chelsea side that have absolutely struggled to maintain those players' fitness this season. That would be the only thing. But as standards go for a player, he is absolutely the level I expect Chelsea Football Club to be signing players at.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think it's an unbelievable signing. If you get him, Mo, you think Arsenal should be in for him?
No, 100%. Why they're not all over this? Bro, this is absolutely crazy. So last year, I said that Arsenal are not in a place to sign two top players in some positions. Like Manchester City, like they have Bernardo, they have Foden, they have KDB, you know what I mean? They have great center backs. They have even two great goalkeepers, you know? This is because the team is winning. So you can, like Man United back in the days when they used to have great midfielders and great wingers, and they can rotate because you can convince a player to join your club knowing that they will be in a squad that is a winning squad, winning trophies. So you'd be happy with that, you know what I mean? Like some clubs, they have two top strikers that they rotate. And then I was skeptical a little bit about the ability of Arsenal to convince a player in the caliber of Olise to come in and battle for his position against the Saka or even against other players. And I was told, no, Arsenal are in a place where they can sign two top players and convince them because they are a winning team. But now the excuses is that, but Saka's there. So you should be happy then with a Reece Nelson, because it's either you're going to go for a good player that is a first teamer to battle it with Saka, or you're going to go for a second tier player, right? Like a Reece Nelson, like a second tier player that will come in and accept sitting on the bench for Saka when he's not fit or he wants a rest. Which one is it for Arsenal Football Club? This is where Arsenal take the next step. You know, you get a Declan Rice, you have a Partey, you have an Odegaard, you have a Jorginho. You can go and sign a Kimmich and convince him, listen, you're going to be part of a massive team that are winning for the next 3-4 years. This is how big clubs work. You sign good players in every position, not a second tier, not a third tier player. Olise might not be the guy that will Man City get to start, right? When Doku, for example, signed, he's not a top tier player, but Man City convinced the kid, come in, be an understudy to our team, and we're going to make you a top player. Why don't Arsenal go to Olise and tell him, listen, we're winning the Premier League next season. We're battling for Champions League. Come in, be part of that, instead of being part of a Chelsea team that is still in the rebuild. Why can't
would he choose
Arsenal?
Arsenal? Would he choose Arsenal over Chelsea?
As of now, yes. 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 Why would you choose Chelsea, who are starting phase 1 in a project? And actually, they spoke about we're starting a project and stuff like this. Why can't Arsenal go to top players? Why can't Arsenal go to Eze and tell Eze, listen, come in, battle in this midfield. We'll play 50 plus games a season. You're going to get your 25, 30. Man City done this with tons of players. Man City don't go to any center back and tell him you're guaranteed a start. Everyone rotates at Man City. Why? Because they win. Am I wrong? Why can't Arsenal do this? If you guys want to convince us, you Arsenal fans and the board and Mikel Arteta, when he wins this, whatever trophy, whatever award he won, win is sign top players in places. And Olise is not 100 million. You're not signing a 100 million pound player. You're signing a 50, 45 million pound player. That should be the aim for Arsenal. Not a third tier player, not a second tier player.
I have to say, I agree with
Harvey Barnes. I'm going to give you an example. Harvey Barnes was a star for Leicester, and Gordon was a star for Everton. What did Newcastle do? Brought the two players, and I'm not saying they're Saka level, and told them, you're going to battle it. They didn't know that Harvey Barnes would get injured. You're going to battle it. We are building a team. So they signed probably two players at the same level and tell them, you battle it. Why can't Arsenal do this?
I think you're talking facts, brother, personally. Pete, what are you saying about Olise?
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with anything that Mo said. I think someone like Arsenal should definitely be in for him. Like it just makes sense. If anyone's seen his stats, even with the injuries, he's in the top 90 percentile for shot and creations, for his passing and possession. For his ability on the ball in terms of creating opportunities for the striker. He's in the top 90 percentile in all of those areas. Like 16 goal contributions for a guy that's had a lot of injuries this season is a huge contribution. The one thing I will say in response to Dan with regards to the question mark in injuries, we had the same question mark with regards to Olise because we have been linked with him. And our journalists up in the Northeast have been heavily kind of watching this situation. And what I would say is that Roy Hodgson seemed to be part of the problem with that. And if you look at Olise since Glasner's come in, he's pretty much played every game. And the reason being is because he's being managed better. And that was always my argument, that if we got Olise in to certain sections of the fan base and, could he be a problem because of his injuries? Well, no, because of the exact reason that Mo's just said, is that what you're doing is bringing him in to provide competition to the players that are already there. So we'd get rid of Miggy, we'd bring in Olise, we might have Murphy who's happy to be a backup at Newcastle United, but then you've got Barnes and Gordon on each side, and what you've got is competition. You've got a player that can go out there for 65 minutes and win you the game, and then you bring him off and bring Murphy on to be able to cover. Also could do exactly the same with Saka, as Mo mentioned. And so what you're doing is you're managing his minutes and not having to get him to go to the well every single game and give 100%, and then by the end of the season burn out, which is pretty much what Saka's done for the last 2 seasons. So what you're doing, you're providing that opportunity. My only question mark with what you said, Potts, is regards to Chelsea, because my question mark is that if I'm Michael Olise and I'm going to go to a top club or a club that's certainly fighting for Europe as my next point of call, I want to know that I'm the main man. I want to know that I'm starting every week. I want to know that I'm in contention. If I'm going to make that big money move. Now, my big question mark with Chelsea is that Michael Olise tends to play off the right-hand side. He's played in the pockets under Glasner recently, him and Eze in those kind of number 10 pockets. But why would you, in my opinion, go to Chelsea? Not because they're not a big club, because they are. They're a fantastic club. But when you've got Madueke and Palmer that both play in this position, it just raises question marks to me that one, why would Chelsea want to buy him? And two, where is he going to fit within that system? Because they've already got two very capable players. Palmer scored 20 plus goals last season from that position. You've got Madueke that's getting better every season. He's growing into his role at Chelsea. Why would you want to go there and fight with two other players for exactly the same position? And you may think, oh, okay, well, you pop him on the other side. But then you got Mudryk and Raheem Sterling that both are occupying the other side. So I just, for me, I don't get the Chelsea move. I genuinely don't get it. He's a quality player, and my question is that, you know, for Chelsea, why would you want to go and spend that sort of money on a player when you've already got the positions taken up there? And why would you want to go and invest your money elsewhere? And Chelsea been known in the last 18 months to 2 years to make those mistakes. But that was my only question mark about that link to Chelsea.
It's an interesting one, Martin, because Olise, right-sided winger, Manchester City, I see today sniffing around a couple. I know you got Savio coming in, and there's rumours about Bernardo. Olise to City, could you see it happening, or you're not interested?
He's on the list, as he and Olise, but I don't think we'll move. We got Savio coming in. Bernardo may not go anywhere.
Okay.
But the simple fact is that the Paqueta deal's obviously that's off.
Yeah.
That one's off. So, and the other thing is, I think I told Molis earlier on, I do think we're starting to see, I think these PSR, FFP issues are still affecting teams.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone wants to move at the minute. Nobody wants to commit a load of money down. It's a very strange one because you've got this meeting coming up with the Premier League in June, apparently, where they're going to decide on these new rules. And if these new rules come in, I think you're going to end up having not like a January window, but I think you're going to end up with a lot quieter summer than what people are expecting.
Yeah, I think there's a problem with this PSR thing. And I know when we talk about Bruno in a bit, there's issues there as well, particularly on Arsenal's side that I've heard today that this PSR thing and FFP thing is not going to allow us to release the clause. Let me tell you that, which I believe was right. Before we move properly from Chelsea, big up, Dan. Thanks for joining, man. I know you're driving home and you work from work, so big up for coming on, my friend. We're going to get to yourself in a minute, trust me. But Dan, let me talk to you about Conor Gallagher and Chalobah very quickly, because they're two players that I believe Chelsea are looking to sell. Now, that's definitely come from an ownership point of view in terms of the 100% profit thing again, I guess, right? But do you think that's a good or bad thing for Chelsea? Because I can't lie, I think Chalobah and Gallagher, since they have played at Chelsea, have been two of the players that really aren't the issue for me. So what are you saying about them two, bruv?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, to be honest with you. I think... Wait, do you mean me?
I did mean yourself, Dan, yeah, because obviously you're Chelsea. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, cool. I think it's obviously something that I feel was an issue for Pochettino, that those two would potentially be moved on. In terms of clear profit and replacing those players, I think it can be done. I think the one thing you can't replace with those players is their heart and desire to play for the football club and win. I don't think you can go and get that for the price. The biggest issue for me, though, is the fact that Trevor Chalobah is going to be let go for an absolute bargain, it seems like, for another team, potentially Manchester United. And honestly, I think Conor Gallagher is a player that could be useful in any team throughout a season. He can stay fit. He's one of the only Chelsea players that was able to stay fit. I don't think he's the most creative player, but I think defensively what he offered, I think around the pitch in terms of midfield and his combativeness and the leadership that he showed at times this season, I don't think that's easily replaceable. So yeah, it's a big issue for me that the board are just happy to sort of let those type of players go. I don't actually think they really understand the value in a player like that, to be honest. And Trevor Chalobah's stats in terms of wins when he started at Chelsea is exceptional, actually, to be fair. But you can do better than both players. But sometimes a player expects to have a player in a team that gives more for the cause than a better player with a little bit less want to win.
If I can come in for this Conor Gallagher situation, here is the situation. Conor Gallagher is serviceable for Chelsea than Enzo Fernandez. 100%. Conor Gallagher gets the best out of Cole Palmer and Caicedo, and I'm sure Lavia will be in that mix as well. The difference between Conor Gallagher and Enzo Fernandez is that Enzo Fernandez is a star, and Enzo Fernandez is someone who, if you keep at your club, you need to play because of the price tag. And you need to build around him for him to get the best out of him. But Conor Gallagher is the opposite, as Dan said. Conor Gallagher is happy to do the work around the midfield, the defensive, the running and all stuff. And Caicedo does his job by linking up the play from the back, and Cole Palmer does his job as a 10, especially if you're getting an Olise on the right side. So that means Cole Palmer plan, because Cole Palmer and Olise, they aren't going to battle it on the right side, right? For Chelsea in the Conference League. They have to start. So Cole Palmer in the 10, you need Conor Gallagher behind him. Because the midfield of Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, Cole Palmer, I don't think that's defensively great because Enzo Fernandez doesn't defend as much. So I think the problem with Conor Gallagher is that he is someone who, if he stays at the club, they don't care about his value, but Enzo Fernandez, they do. That's the difference between both players. If they sell Enzo Fernandez tomorrow, they aren't getting half the money back. So they need to keep Enzo. But that is going to be the sacrifice, is getting someone like Conor Gallagher. And I think that will affect the play. That will affect how they play. They don't have another Conor Gallagher on the team to do the dog work in the midfield, which is every team needs that. Every team needs that guy.
So why then, Mo, is Maresca, and maybe Dan, you might come in with this and with your Chelsea hat on. Maresca has apparently been appointed because he is the coach that can get the best out of Enzo Fernandez, who was £100 million, by the way. And they needed 3 managers to get the best out of him. So for me, I think it's a madness. I actually think Gallagher's been one of Chelsea's better players, and a lot of the Chelsea fans I speak to don't rate him and don't think he should be in the midfield. I don't get it. From what I've seen, he's been better than both Caicedo and Enzo this season just gone, in my opinion. But I don't get it. Just quickly on the Maresca thing, Dan, what are you saying as a Chelsea fan? Are you looking at that as a good move, bad move, weird move?
Look, I think it's risky. I'm trying to find the positives in that move. I'm not really sure it was the right step forward. I feel like the majority of match-going fans aren't going to be over the moon with it. I think there's a lot of people on Twitter that are now convincing themselves that this is the right move. But if you'd have told them Maresca was going to get the job when people were talking about Poch getting sacked, they would have gone, who? Like, it's just ridiculous. People just flip-flop all over the place. I think it's a bad move for Chelsea. I think if this risk doesn't pay off, it puts the board in a horrific place in terms of a fan-board relationship. And I couldn't agree more with what you're saying about Conor Gallagher, by the way. I think he's been very, very good for Chelsea this season, and he should demand a really good transfer fee if he is to go.
Football fans do whatever makes them sleep well at night.
I agree, Mo.
I promise you. Arsenal fans do it. Inter fans do it. Juventus fans do it. Newcastle fans, everybody. Chelsea fans, whatever makes them stay in front of the mirror and say, my club is good. I can sleep well. I can sleep well, bro. It's just, it's something, because they are afraid of banter. Because if all the fans are like Dan, I think would have better conversations. But everybody sit here and defend their club. Even if they are, I can tell from talking to Chelsea fans, they aren't convinced, but they are afraid to say what they actually feel. Everyone does this in football now.
Do you know what it is, Mo? No one's going to like this. I'm sorry. But you all want, because you can't get Pep Guardiola, you're all going after baby Peps.
It's actually true. No, it's actually true, Mo. You laugh. It's actually true.
Over to Arsenal, Maresca to Chelsea. We've got companies gone into Bayern. We're ruling world football. What we're trying to do.
We're ruining football. Fergie disciples, though, many years ago.
You know, I said that. You know, Martin.
Disciples.
I said that this morning, right? I said that with Dan and the guys, like on my show. I said what Pep did is that he actually ruined how people think about football. And I said that this morning, and this is the statement that I want you guys to make the statement, sit and think about it. Ask any Bayern fan in 2013 after they won a treble, you are getting a championship manager that got relegated the season after. They would tell you you're crazy. You're an absolutely deluded person that shouldn't be talking about the football. But nowadays, I am seeing Bayern fan backing it. And I'm not saying he's going to fail, but the caliber of managers that people used to go for is different. But because he plays attractive football and pass around and everybody look good, they're like, yeah, we're building something. At the end, he's someone who got relegated and was rigid and didn't want to change the way he plays. But because they complete 90% of the passes, his team complete 90% of the passes.
The
It's
manager
great.
market is
It's gonna be Pep
The
Guardiola.
manager market is a
They
absolute.
went. Bayern Munich went
And
from
it's not just that.
Pittsfield, right? Hansi Flick, Nagelsmann was someone who's looked down at Bayern Munich, that he's coming from Leipzig and he didn't win. They're like, we
Stop
sign
bad-mouthing the
winners.
City legend. That is Vinny Company. Stop bad mouthing him.
I am not bad mouthing
You
him,
know-
but you get my point, Martin, and you know
I get-
exactly.
You know, in all
Pep broke
seriousness,
people's mind, even
It is
direct to
madness.
football.
and I'm not trolling, but Pete, Amanda Stabley came down when they got taken over and spent 7 to 8 days at Manchester City, looking around everything, CFA. You're now seeing everything.
No, she stayed away from the books.
Oh, she did. She did.
Dan, you can stay away from the books, but that's why you took half our boardroom, wasn't it? Because you got to forget, your lot took half our boardroom. I'm coming to you next. Don't you worry, sunshine.
We also took your FA Cup, mate. We also took your FA Cup as well, mate.
You did, and we also created.
Took
this
your
It
league.
could
City,
never
though,
have
didn't they,
happened.
Dan?
The
That's the worst
impossible
thing about it.
happened.
You did. Well done. You won one game. What we did was create history and made Fergie go back into the shadows. Anyway, Pete, so you got Newcastle there.
I
By
beg
the
your
way,
pardon. I beg your
four-
pardon.
four in a row.
Yeah, we'll
four in a
see
row.
about that, mate. We'll see about that when this all comes fucking finished, shall we? Hey, we'll see about that.
that. Anyway,
We'll see about that.
Pete's copying us up at Newcastle. Dan's took Pep's coach Maresca. We all were like, oh, never know. You've got companies gone into Bayern. Dan's United team have took half the City boardroom out because they fancied doing it.
And they
Well,
got
you know.
Ten Hag as well, Martin.
Yeah, and they've still got Ten Hag.
Yeah,
It's
that's
quite
Pep
funny,
disciple
this.
as well.
You know, Martin, what the difference is? You guys got the best coach in the world, Pep Guardiola, that was coming from Bayern, a three-peat at Bayern, of course. They got the people that used to be the assistant to Pep. It's not that they got, like, it's ridiculous.
And Arsenal took our out. It's like,
Wallahi.
is there anyone?
I
What's
swear,
going
guys.
on here?
If Inter went for someone like an Arteta when Arsenal got him, or a company or a Maresca, I'll be mad. I'll be like, what is happening here? I don't get, what is this, bro? What is happening
great.
here?
It's a major risk for company and Maresca.
Yes, of course.
It's a major risk.
And their clubs and their chairman.
And the players' values, people don't realize. If Bayern goes third again, what stops Musiala from saying, what is going on here? I want to go Real Madrid. I want to go City.
You're not getting the plan of you, mate. Pep had a word with Bayern. Take Vinny. He's great. So while we're there, Pep put a company will have a little chat, and then next summer when KDB goes off to America, Musiala will.
But when I
That's
say
into
Pep ruined
Manchester.
football, people don't believe me.
Listen, you know what
He
was funny
did.
yesterday? I heard Cisse.
We've got fingers in everyone's pies.
All of his assistants or old assistants just going, yeah, my assistant, he was great. He was a great assistant. You go and manage Bayern. Yeah, he was a great assistant. Go and manage Arsenal. And Pep just wins everything and keeps going. That's what's happening. It's crazy.
Like,
then
play like
United's
me.
assistant,
Hassan always
You
says
end
that.
up with the Wally with the brawler.
Hassan always says that. Hassan,
You know what I mean?
Hassan says that Pep convinced everyone to play the same football like him, but he's the one he does it the best, so he's always gonna win.
Exactly that. He's always gets everyone to copy his style of football, but he's the best at doing it. Listen, while we're talking on managers, let's talk about Ten Hag quickly, Dan, because I know you ain't got long. What's going on, man? He's going to stay, isn't he?
I'm going to leave that in the car park, mate. The security guard keeps coming over. It's like, get a life, mate. Get a life. I've just seen him take 2 pints of milk from the office as well, robbing bastard.
Mate, report it, Dan. Ten Hag's going to stay, mate, isn't he? Ten Hag's going to stay.
Yeah, logical thing to do. Logical thing to do.
Is he genuinely staying?
He's taking the piss.
You think he's actually going to stay?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Who's out there? Who's
Dan
out
wanted
there?
him to stay. Dan told me you wanted him to stay, so he's happy.
Oh, he's
It's a
happy.
logical thing to do. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy for now. I'm happy.
Because
Look,
he
at the end of the
defended
day,
for 90 minutes against Man City and won the cup.
Sorry. Well, all I take from that is the last bit of that
That's
sentence.
the only
Mo.
bit we want to hear.
Won
We beat
the
Man
cup.
City.
Won the cup. It's not even about beating Man City. It's about winning the cup. At the end of the day, Manchester United hadn't won the cup since 2016, and the FA Cup for me, I absolutely adore the FA Cup. It's something as growing up as a kid, I watched and absolutely adored. So I was absolutely chuffed last Saturday that we won it. With regards to Ten Hag, I said this probably like 6 weeks ago. With this new process in, let's see if he really is what he says he is. You know, let's see with all the transfers taken away from him and this whole new background, hopefully not as many injuries next season. Let's see if he is what he says he is. If it doesn't work, then what have we lost? Because at the moment, the only people out there, McKenna signed a new deal, didn't want him, he's not ready. De Zerbi, don't want him. Then you're looking at the likes of Potter and Gareth fucking Southgate. Don't want any of them. So I'm happy to give him that 12, mate. Fuck it. Sorry, 2 seconds.
See that? This is the thing.
Sorry, guys. This is getting horrendous. This is. Do you want to be on YouTube, mate? Do you want to? Who you follow? No. So yeah. I'm happy for him to stay. I'm still living in the moment of us winning the FA Cup, regardless of us, beating City. It's an FA Cup, and more importantly, to be fair to the guy, regardless of what you say about him, it's 2 cups in 2 years. Yeah. That's, you know what I mean? If you look at it on that, obviously we know the football's not been great. We know that there has been so many issues, so much drama. On the way to winning this FA Cup, we beat Liverpool and we beat Man City. You know, it's not like we spammed it all the way through. So I'm happy. Give him 12 months. The transfers that we're looking at doing, I know Tadebo's one that I know that he wanted him before this whole thing with Nice and Ineos come through. So I'd be happy if we got Tadebo. I still wouldn't mind just getting another defender in as well, because I feel like with Varane gone, you've got to get rid of Lindelof. I think Lindelof's done there. I would happily keep Maguire at the moment. I think not mainly for ability. Look, we know that he turns as quick as a ship. But at the same time, I think the attitude that he's displayed this season has been absolutely tremendous in a time where we have had a lot of bad eggs. I would happily keep people like that in my club. We need a new striker. Strikers, again, where do you go to get a decent striker nowadays? They cost money. You know, they are going to cost a lot of money. So it's going to be a whirlwind transfer window for Manchester United, and I'm absolutely 100% here for it. Absolutely, I'm really excited. Really excited.
Can I ask a question? Go ahead, Martin.
We need another striker.
How much did you spend on Highland 12 months ago?
70 million.
And you ditched him out for what?
Hoyland. I'm not ditching him out. No, Martin, you're missing my point here, mate. We need another striker. We can't go another season relying on one striker. We can't do that. Hoyland's been, I think he's done well this season. I think for his age, regardless of the price tag, it's nothing to do with him, the price tag. I think he's done well in a team that has not ever really looked for him on the pitch. He does it. I think his stats are from receiving the balls from players, one of the lowest in the league. But his chance conversion when he does try and actually get an attempt is fantastic. So I would be more than happy with us bringing an experienced striker in and having the 2 next season. We have to, because we can't go with what we had this season. Martial was injured for most of it, and Martial had checked out at the start of the season. We need one more striker, I think. You need
choosing the deals, is that? Thought Wilcox was now thought he was being given a list of players and say, "There's your list, you choose."
And I want that, because I don't want the same things with the Anthony deals. That can't happen anymore. That can't happen. So I think that's the only reason they've not announced that he's staying yet. I still think there is that argument between them that in his eyes, I've got a contract that says I have full control over the transfers, and Manchester United are now saying to him, I think those days are gone, mate. We've got a team behind you who will go out there and help assist to get the right players in.
But then with all due respect, nobody can complain about a McKenna or a Maresca then. Because do you know why these young managers are getting the opportunity? Because they're getting the opportunity to promote themselves, but also they're a little bit of yes men.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. They are yes men. And quite rightly so, quite rightly so as well, because they're not going to get these opportunities, are they? So you can't begrudge them saying, yeah, definitely, I'll have that opportunity. But
that's not fair on the fans, though, is it? That's not fair on fans.
No. And that's yeah, I agree. So that's where we are. Sorry, go on, man.
Genuine question to you then. if in the next 5 years, right? If in the next 5 years, you every year you win a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup, but you don't challenge for the league, right? Next 5 years, and you come fourth, one second, third, and then fifth, sixth, and then third, but you win a cup every year. Would you call that a success?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
No, I
Okay.
don't. And this goes back to the whole what Ineos are bringing to the table, or so they're saying. You know what they want to achieve. This isn't going to happen in 2 or 3 seasons, Mo. We're not challenging for the Premier League. I'm not naive enough to sit here and think, right, everything's rosy. In 2 or 3 seasons, next season we will be going for the Premiership. We have to make sure we build everything, because let's not forget, Manchester United, as we all know, is a fucking mess. So this isn't going to be taken care of in a season. The process needs to be right, and it needs to be true. The other good thing as well is that they're going to be working on Carrington now, which I think is brilliant news. That's another thing that I think we've needed to sort for so long. So, look, I'm not sat here saying good times are coming back, Manchester United fans. Get the flags out, we're ready. But I'm saying the tide might be turning. We've just got to be patient. We have to be patient.
I think
Much like this head is by my window. Honestly, if he carries on, I'm gonna have to go, guys. I'm gonna have to go.
Put him on camera, spin it around and put him on. He'll soon piss off.
In Jobsworth, right? Sorry for it being brief, guys.
Nah, don't be. It's fine. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Take care, bro.
Make sure you go follow United first. Dan, I'll speak to you soon. See you next time, bro.
So I'll see you soon, Dan. Pete, I'll see you when you lot are back in Europe, yeah? See you, mate.
Oh, gosh. You clown. Get him off.
You were celebrating. That's it. We're going. We're going to.
No, I wasn't celebrating. What I said is that we finishing 7th ahead of you, we'd done our job. I said, up to you to then win the cup. I said, if you win, remember, I said to you, if you win the cup against Man City at Wembley, you will deserve Europe. And you deserved Europe because you won.
And that's what we did, brother. Peace out. I'm off.
Love, man. Take care.
How the mighty have fallen. United fans weren't doing that 20 years ago.
You know what I mean?
How the mighty have fallen.
It just makes me feel like that type of response makes me feel like we're going in the right direction, because like it wasn't a few years ago that nobody gave a shit about Newcastle United. Now you got people sunglassing and laughing and buzzing off the fact that they're beating us to European football. That all that does for me is tell me that we're right where we need to be, and we're going out.
Football has changed, man. Let's get through some of these super chats before we move. Wayne, big up to yourself, bruv. Says, I think this is for you, Mo. Says, or just maybe Arsenal aren't interested in Olise, meaning we may have other targets. You're on mute, Mo.
Who are you interested in then, Wayne? Okay, so.
Well,
like who?
maybe Pedro Neto, somebody like that. I don't know.
Maybe.
Kudus. Today I saw links with Kudus. Imagine. Can you imagine Lawless face?
He's got to get a move, by the way.
Next summer.
Yeah, it's the summer after, yeah. Which is a shame. It is a shame because that's getting released. Let me tell you that. He looks a
he ain't just really quickly on Kudus. He ain't going to take another season out of Europe. You know, I'm sure we'll talk on other players, maybe some of our players, maybe in a little bit with regards to that. But he won't take another year out of Europe. If they get to the end of next season not in Europe, that clause is getting triggered 110%.
And proper Europe as well, because like Kudus has done it in the Champions League for Ajax and like showed up big time. Like I honestly think someone should go this season ahead of the release clause and just try their luck, because you'd want him in your side than not and miss out on him, because
he's only your lot. Can drop 100 million though down on him.
Well, if we do, I wouldn't be moaning.
Well, it's an interesting conversation around West Ham because of what's happening with Paqueta and like what could potentially happen with him. He seemed to be the one that was going to be sold out of him, Bowen and Kudus. But you know, we've been linked recently in the last two weeks with Jared Bowen. On top of that, the Kudus conversation, I don't think we'll get him either. But is that potentially, you know, they're going to be missing out on their money maker in Paqueta moving on? So could they potentially look at Kudus going if someone does come in?
They've just lost £70 million, haven't they?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. So they're gonna have to think about that. This one comes in from his gunner. Says rank Kudus, Olise, and Neto. Wow, that's a really tough one, man. Go on, Dan. I'll let you have a go.
Yeah, Kudus is one for me. Like I watched West Ham Chelsea the other week, and like we battered West Ham, but Kudus was the best player on the pitch. I then think Olise would be second and Neto third. I think that is literally the order. I think Pedro Neto is a fantastic player, by the way. They're all absolutely fantastic players.
Same.
But Kudus, wow, like honestly, he looks a serious player. And not that the others don't, but I think he might be a level ahead at the moment.
You know, the problem is, Dan, out of them three, two of them are majorly injury prone right now.
Injury prone. Yeah. Yeah.
You've got Kudos, who's just, to me, I think he's going to be quality. I think he's quality. But Neto, because I know City were interested in Neto, but the trouble is he's like Darren Anderson version 2, if anyone remembers Darren
Anderson.
Yeah. No, Mr. Signal. And then you've got Elite, it's mad. It's a mad situation.
He's a really bad as well, right? Like his injuries are keeping him out, and he is like Elise's put up 16 GA this season with injuries. Like Neto obviously put up a good amount of assists, but then injuries are just taking him out of the question completely for the rest of the season.
I think in terms of technical ability, Neto is right up there. I've got to say it. I think he is sensational. Yes. I think Olise as a winger, right-sided, is the best one. And then Kudus for me, because I think Kudus can play in a number of positions as well. So that's what you got to look at. Could Olise play 10? Possibly not seen it. Left, possibly not seen it. The other two can play anywhere across the front three for me. But Kudus, I've been well impressed, man. And I was really gutted when West Ham got him, because I know Arsenal was sniffing around, Chelsea was sniffing around, Brighton was sniffing around. And I can't believe he ended up at West Ham, man. I have to say it. But they're three quality players that I think people will be looking at. This one's for Mo. Big up to Mookie, my guy. Absolute legend. Thank you so much for the super chat and for supporting the channel, man. You're absolute legend. Thank you so much for that, my bro. And this one from Mina says, we need a taker intro for Dan United with Billy Scared. Listen, man. Dan United and Billy on the Race for Europe show together again, man. That's going to be insane. Trust me, that's going to be insane. Listen, let's talk a little bit about Newcastle and Man City before I go into Arsenal. I'm going to talk about Bruno G very, very quickly, because I do think this is one that just seems to be lingering and lingering and lingering. He's staying at Newcastle. He's leaving Newcastle. There's a release clause. It's going to get released. City are going to release it. Arsenal are going to release it. He's staying at Newcastle. That's basically the cycle. I don't know what you guys think of this. I'll come to you after, Pete. But Martin, what are you hearing on Bruno G and City and Arsenal? Is he going to leave, do you think? What's your thoughts, bro?
So you're putting their bid in next week. What I actually got told now, Pete, you might be able to, I don't, because it is different to the Newcastle end. What I was actually told was the ultra release clause is not fully 100. It's a little bit below and can be paid over 3 payments.
Yeah, I heard that as well. 3 installments.
Can be paid over 3 installments. And now City going in next week at around about 85, 90 million. So I don't know, because obviously I'm not up. I can only hear it from the City side. I don't hear it from. I did get told Arsenal couldn't go to the 100 weeks ago, Dan. I got told that about the.
Say that again, Arsenal. What? Sorry.
Couldn't hit near the 100 because
yeah.
It wasn't couldn't hit it. It was the dates involved, as you know, Pete, because
the PSR stuff.
Release clause by the end of June.
That's what I was told. The PSR is going to prevent Arsenal.
It's causing so many problems because that 1st of July. If you had his release, I think Newcastle have actually been very smart the way they've actually done this, because they put it, because it's till the end of June. Whoever does do it and he says yes to goes on this year's books, so he goes straight into the 23-24 campaign for Newcastle. If they'd have done it on the 1st of July, triggers over into you don't get it till next season. It's a real. It is very clever the way they've done it, and it's great. I can't with him, to be honest with you. I don't know, because the Newcastle end up said, because they've got their kit release next week. But then I also got told he's actually contracted to Adidas Brazil, and he has been for a bit. And that was part of the issue as well. But the last message I got was, if City want Bruno, City will get Bruno as long as they pay it. Bruno,
why do I have a feeling that if Bruno goes to Man City, he'll be another Calvin Phillips, but if he goes to Arsenal, he'll be a Declan Rice?
What?
So what you're saying is Pep doesn't know how to use him.
No, it's not about Pep. It's about Bruno himself. I'm not his biggest fan, to be honest, and I've expressed that a lot of time. I don't know why I feel like if he goes to Man City, he falls short of the physical and all the requirements that Pep needs. I don't know. Because Calvin Phillips,
Why are you saying that? I rate Bruno a
Calvin
lot.
Phillips was amazing at Leeds, bro. He was ahead of Declan Rice in the
Totally different player, Mo. I'll tell you why the Calvin Phillips failed. Calvin Phillips was just a straight 6 and nothing else. You can't, in a Manchester City side,
I don't know why.
You can't just be a 6.
Do you not think Bruno's more of a replacement for Gundogan that they didn't really replace with Nunes?
I think I think he would be a replacement for both because he can play 6 and 8. He can do both. He can do both jobs.
Bruno's class, Mo. Come on, Mo.
Yeah,
I don't get this.
I don't know why. I swear to God, Dan, every time I'm watching the guy, I'm not moved. I'm not moved.
Yeah, but isn't that the type of player that he is? He's not meant to move you. He's in there doing a job that he's doing exceptionally well, that allows the whole rest of the team of players that do move you to tick.
In my opinion, he's just a Jorginho with more fouls.
No, he's not even the same profile, Mo.
Violence.
Mo, he's not even the same profile.
And without the ability to be a Jorginho.
No, he's not.
He's a Jorginho with the violence. Okay, so let me tell you, he's slow. He's very slow. Very slow, right? Let me explain this. Okay, very simple.
He ain't Jorginho slow. He ain't Jorginho slow.
Let me explain to this why. For top teams like Man City or Arsenal, your 6 or one of your midfielders need to be athletic because you attack with numbers and you get hit on transition. And you either need a smart player like Rodri who knows how to stop, right, in terms of positioning and stuff like this, or you need an athletic player like a Thomas Partey who relies so much on, yes, smart, but also athletic in recovery to stop the transition because you get hit with counters. And when you press so high and someone bypass your press, right, you are left with 2 defenders or 1 defender and 1 midfielder, and you need to stop the opposition. The difference is at Man City, if that happens, Bruno Guimarães is too slow to do this, and he opts to do the violence, the free kicks and the fouls and stuff like this. Rodri does it a little bit more subtle. Every time I'm watching Bruno Guimarães, he passes the ball well, but not as well as other players. And his defensive attributes are not amazing. He wins tackles sometimes, but he wins tackle in a different team than how Arsenal and Man City play. This is just me trying to make it footballing thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he has the attributes to be a lone 6 in a team that attacks with 7-8 players. And he's not that playmaker. And he doesn't crash. For example, Declan Rice proved the second half of the season that he can crash the 18. For example, that can be the athletic guy that back the left side, that go in the 18 and stuff like this. I don't know. Why you're laughing? Why you're smiling?
Mo, can you go and say exactly what you just said to Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola, please? Because then they won't come.
Isn't this the same guys that got Sambi Lokonga and Calvin Phillips? Aren't these the same people? Aren't these the same people that got Calvin Phillips and Sambi Lokonga and thought they would bang? Same. By the way, this talent ID that Pep Guardiola doesn't get it wrong. That's not actually true. Sometimes.
But what Pete's saying is he doesn't want to lose Bruno, so he wants you to come convince
because I think he suits Newcastle very well. I think he suits Newcastle very well with the likes of Joelinton around him, with Longstaff, even with Tonali, who's physical. I think that midfield complemented each other very well, actually. That midfield, and also with the workhorses of Gordon and Miggy on the sides, and behind him with Botman before he got injured and Fabian Schär. That team suit itself together. Remove them individually. Fabian Schär before that didn't look amazing. I'm in love with Fabian Schär, right? He looked amazing in that way of playing football. He looked fantastic, right? Bro, who thought that Longstaff can be that guy before that system came together? Do you want to tell me that if Longstaff leaves there and go to Man City and Arsenal, he would perform the same way he performed for Newcastle? No, I doubt it. Joelinton. No, you wouldn't think
Newcastle fans don't think Longstaff even performs for Newcastle.
But he performs not bad, but he doesn't perform bad.
He's absolute shit.
Last season he was good. Last season he was good.
Last season he was very good. This season he has been shocking. And Newcastle fans want him out the team.
Newcastle fans
didn't have a right winger. You remember that? You didn't have a right winger. Miguel Almiron was in our team. And
There's another player we want gone as well.
But my point about even Miguel,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. For me, Bruno Guimarães is an outstanding midfielder. Some of the things that you've touched on, I do agree with you. And there's some things that I've shared over the course on Loaded Mag with my frustrations with Bruno Guimarães. But you talked about him athletically. Bruno Guimarães covered more ground than any other Premier League player this season. Like, he gets around the pitch. He's pretty much, I think he only missed one game through suspension. He's played every single game for Newcastle.
One more thousand in the top 5 leagues in Europe. Bruno Guimarães.
Don't sleep on his recoveries and his ability to recover the ball. Very, very good. Very good. Deceptively good for Newcastle United. And actually, his recoveries are not these lung busting, high intensity tackles. What he does, he reads the play really well. So they hunt in packs of 2s and 3s, and he's normally the one that recovers the ball because he covers the ground really well. I do agree his recovery runs aren't great. He isn't the fastest. His pace is an issue, particularly in recoveries. But this is why he wants to play as a number 8. He doesn't want to play as a number 6. He's played the last 2 years as a number 6 because he's doing a job for the team. But he wants to play as a number 8, and there's no denying that when he plays as a number 8, he is even better.
So what aspects of his game is amazing? Does he contribute goals, assists? Is he a playmaker?
He's got 15, 16 goal contributions this season, which is not bad for a midfielder. Yes. For me, it's the knitting of the midfield to the forward line. So he controls possession. So playing as a 6, everything comes through him. So from the defenders, from the centre-backs, from the goalkeeper, into Bruno Guimarães, from the full-backs, Trippier, Tino on the left, or whoever is on the left, everything comes through Bruno Guimarães. He then distributes the balls out wide. He then links the play from a number 6. He then transitions into a number 8. And when we're higher up on the field, on the edge of the area, he's the one that makes the connecting passes. His range of passes is brilliant. You only have to look at what he did to Man City at St. James's Park 2 or 3 times. His long-range passes absolutely destroyed Man City at times. His short game's exceptional. Like, he can keep the ball. His possession, the amount of fouls he gets against him because people can't get the ball off him. In those short distances, 5-10 yards, it's impossible to get the ball off him. Like, the ball is glued to his foot. And I don't know how he does it sometimes, but he is outstanding with it.
I agree with Pete. I think he's quality, man.
The only thing I would just add to that, is that maybe he could get more goals. He could get, but I genuinely believe if he's playing with as a number 8, he would advance into the box and be able to be in the position to score more goals. Because whenever he does decide to throw caution to the wind and get himself forward, he actually gets himself into a lot of goal-scoring opportunities. And that's where some of his goals have come from this season. But he's a very unselfish player.
Let me ask you, Pete, right? You guys put £100 of your money on one of these options. Bruno staying at Newcastle, Bruno going to City, or Bruno going to Arsenal. Where are you putting your money?
He's eating Nando's, bro, with the money. He's more than the money. You know?
Oh, you know what?
He's not
I ain't had dinner yet. Yeah, I'm pick the Nando's option. In all seriousness, I'm split. I'm split £50 on him staying at Newcastle, £50 on going to Man City. I do agree with what Martin said, regardless of what's been rumoured, because as I mentioned to you, Potts, before the show, there has been rumours, particularly on Wednesday night, that there was rumours that Newcastle, that Bruno's going to stay at Newcastle. That were kind of the rumours that were going around. But for me, I just keep going back to that relationship with Pep Guardiola. If Man City come in, he's going. And I wouldn't begrudge him to go. He's got guaranteed trophies there. He could go and win the Champions League, the Premier League, the trophies that, for me, a player of his ability deserves to win. I can't begrudge him that. And there's 2 reasons. One, because of his quality. He is an outstanding footballer. For me, he's one of the best midfielders I've ever seen in the 30-plus years I've supported Newcastle United. The best midfielder I've seen.
Can I ask a question, Pete? Sorry to jump in. Does this release clause go into next season?
No, and this is the thing.
That's my point.
He's already
now. When does he move?
Yeah. Well, there you go. And this is where it gets interesting, because you talked about the release clause. The release clause is already a week in. It started the last week of May, and it ends before the last week of June. So he's effectively got 3 weeks left. Now, one thing you've got to take into consideration, it might not matter, it could, but the fact that he's already in Brazil preparing for a Copa America, will he want his potential future hanging over his head when he's focused on Copa America? I don't know. So for me, if he's going to move, it will be within the next week or so.
Can I ask you something, Pete, for real? Don't you think that Bruno Guimarães should wait a little bit before committing his future to Man City before the charges come through? For a player like Chalobah, why are you doing this, Martin? Why are you doing this, Martin?
Here we go.
It's a very genuine question. It's a genuine question.
Same question.
It's a genuine question, bro. It's a superstar for Brazil. A superstar for Brazil. A superstar at Newcastle. He gets paid. He got off. He can go to other clubs, and then he can commit for 5-year contract at Man City.
Come on, all the lawyers are coming in the chat now.
Honestly, Martin, I raised that same question on our show last night. I raised exactly the same question, but it wasn't because of the charges. It's because of the rumors that it's potentially Pep's last night.
That's the correct
that as well.
That for me, I think
will leave because of the charges.
If he goes to Man, okay, he's made the
link. He's going to New York City, Mo.
I think he's going to Man City.
1-0 Mo.
Please don't underestimate. Bruno Guimarães' love for Newcastle United. He absolutely loves the city. He is engrossed in everything Newcastle United. It's going to be a massive pull to take him away, and that's why I think if he's going to go anywhere, it's going to be Man City for that reason. I think Arsenal is a great club, and I actually think he would probably suit their football maybe even better at Arsenal. But I think that allure of guaranteed trophies that he's bound to get with Man City is going to be a pull that he cannot deny. And for all Arsenal's good work, and this is no disrespect to Arsenal, you parts or the fan base, for all of your fantastic work and fantastic football over the last 2 years, you haven't got anything to show for it. And that would be maybe a concern if he's coming up against Arsenal or Man City. So I do think that it's not straightforward, but I do think if Man City put the money down, it won't be Bruno's got a decision to make. I think Man City will only put the money down if they've got assurances.
I want to ask Pete a question since he's here now, and we don't meet a lot. I hope we do more. Look, if you are an advisor, like forget the charge and everything. I'm talking about Arsenal and Newcastle now, right? Forget Man City. If Man City aren't on the table, for example, and Bruno Guimarães is being offered a contract at Arsenal, you know more than us. Can the Newcastle people convince him that the project they are building? I don't know about the finances of Newcastle, but we were told last season with the likes of Tonali, Gordon, that the project is there to become one of the best in the world, right? With the stadium revamp and all the stuff. Do you think there is a case for them to convince him that the project long term, because he's not old, for the best 5 years is better than the Arsenal project?
I think they would try to. Like we have to take sort of this season out of the conversation because we were massively hampered by injuries. Yes. I genuinely believe that if we didn't have those injuries, we'd have been fighting for Champions League, and it would be a very different conversation now. I think having we got Champions League 2 seasons in a row, I don't think Bruno leaves the club. I think he stays with Newcastle United, in my opinion. However, we're in a different conversation now. I think the conversation will be within the next 2 or 3 weeks, if it's not already happened, give us 1 more year. Give us 1 more year to show you that we can fight at the top end of the table. And if we cannot do that, then you have our blessing to leave. Because let's not forget, Newcastle benefit from this as well. 100 million with FFP, we're able to go and spend the money that we wanted to go and spend, but the Premier League very quickly put a very number of different rules in place, like like sponsorships and all the other things that they've put into place that have effectively hampered Newcastle's quick accelerated growth, like getting that 100 million for Bruno Guimarães allows us to do exactly that. So Newcastle United will benefit regardless. It'll be a huge hole to fill, but what it allows Newcastle United to do if he goes will accelerate our project by maybe 2 or 3 seasons.
Can I just come in on that, Pete? The only thing I would say, because listen, I agree with you. If you keep one more year, that's why I asked, has he got a release clause next year? If he hasn't, you could ask 150 next year, like you can with this Isaac now.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is, we've done that with Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva, we've gone, give us 1 more year, 1 more year, 1 more year. We were at 80 million last summer. We dropped it to 50 and put the release clause in, and it's still causing a problem for clubs. So this is the thing. I think Bruno's at major crossroads here, because with all due respect, I think you're 3 or 4 years off challenging on a title, and by the time Bruno hits that, he's 31.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult situation probably for everyone, because I think the under million, what we're doing, it gives you 3 times income to get going, and you can go and spend 80 million. You can get involved in Olise and Ezes and all these other players, or a Gerard Bowen, if that makes sense. It's a weird one. It was like Villa. Villa did it with Grealish. So Grealish, they got the 100 million in. They could go wild on signings. Coutinho at Liverpool, 150 million. They went wild on signings. So I don't know. I think it's a dangerous one for Bruno this year. I don't know. It's because I think he's gambling either way.
Yeah. Like I say, this is why I kind of thought 50 pound either way. Staying in Man City. It does look like Arsenal probably won't be looking in his direction. But this is why I'm not sure, because of all the reasons that we've just mentioned. There are good reasons for and against him going to Man City and staying at Newcastle. So it's really hard. But for me, look, on a personal level, I love Bruno Guimarães. I think he's been outstanding. I don't sleep on the fact that he joined us when we were bottom of the Premier League, when we looked certain to be relegated. He joined us at that moment, came from Champions League, playing Champions League with Lyon, Europa League with Lyon in European football, and came to us. And I don't forget that lightly. So if he does go, we'll go with our blessing as a fan base, because we know what situation he came into and what he's created since he's been at the club.
Interesting, man. Listen, we've got to move from Bruno. Let's quickly touch on Arsenal. SESKO to Arsenal. What do we make of this opportunity for us to get him? Because I'm looking at the Isaks and the Victor Gyökeres and the Victor Osimhen's that we've been linked with, Ivan Toney's. I know what they're about. I don't know too much about what SESKO's about. And I honestly believe that if we do get SESKO, I think he's going to sit behind Havertz still. And I think he's going to be more one that's molded in. So I want to get some opinions on the panel about what they think.
Haaland. He's Haaland. Played Salzburg, played in the Bundesliga. He's Haaland.
But that doesn't make him Haaland, though, does it? Come on.
He's similar.
That's way similar.
Arteta's following Pep in everything. He did the false 9 with Gabriel Jesus, and then now he's going to a number 9 that played for Salzburg and then played in the Bundesliga. It's exactly the same. 45 million as well. It's exactly the same.
It is. I can't even lie. It is. It actually is.
Same steps.
Do you think it's good though, Mo? Do you think it's a good signing?
No.
What?
Okay, here is the deal. I don't watch a lot of SESKO. He's a good player, good prospect. Arsenal built for 4.5 years to now go and get the ready-made players, not a player who has 1 year in a top flight. Unless Havertz is considered their starting forward next season. I get that SESKO might be if okay, let me put it in a perfect way. This would be a 10 out of 10 signing, right? If Arsenal had an Osimhen or a Vlahovic, who I don't like, or a Tony up top, yes, SESKO would be the ideal signing for them at 20 years old, good prospect, good physically, everything is perfect, right? But Arsenal have Kai Havertz up top. I'm not slagging Kai Havertz, but nobody is the majority of the people aren't convinced that Kai Havertz should be the starting striker for Arsenal. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I'll tell you what I will say before I bring the others in is this. I want to see him first. I'm not going to say this is a flop. I'm not going to say this is a shocking signing. I'm not going to say it's an outstanding signing. I need to see him in an Arsenal shirt, just like I did when everyone laughed when we signed Aaron Ramsdale, when everyone laughed when we went for Odegaard instead of Maddison, when everyone laughed when we went for Ben White. I need to look at him in an Arsenal shirt and an Arteta system. That's all I need to do.
I'm sorry, Dan, but that's what you say.
I get what your point, Mo. I get what you're saying, Mo, and I do agree with it because Arsenal are now needing to go bang, bang, bang. Wow, these are all ready to come in now, like Declan Rice was, and I'm not sure SESKO will be. Pete, I know you rate him. I know you think he's a top talent, and I know Newcastle will link with him as well. I'm kind of with Mo in terms of his concerns, but I do need to see him in an Arsenal shirt first. But I don't know what your thoughts are. I'll come to you first, Dan, then I'll get Martin and Pete's chance on this. What are you saying, Dan?
Look, I think there's a talent there. I think in terms of SESKO himself, he started off the season reasonably quiet. I was having a look. It was actually he finished the season 7 games in a row scoring to really boost his numbers up. When I watched him a couple of times this season in the Bundesliga, he looked okay. Admittedly, it was early on in the season. When I watched him against Real Madrid for Leipzig, I think in the Champions League, he looked pretty average. Didn't see a guy setting the world alight, to be honest with you, but the way he's finished the season is strong. I liken that to a player like Nicholas Jackson, finished the season really strong and kind of took that momentum into the next season as well. He's raw. There are some amazing highlights from a couple of seasons gone by where his comps are unbelievable. Some of the finishes are crazy, to be honest with you. But I think what Mo is saying with Arsenal and the project is this really the type of player that Arsenal are getting in as their main striker after 4 years of grafting, realizing that you really do need a goal scorer? That would be the issue for me, is that if you're not going to go and get like Bruno Guimarães, and he costs like 100 million or whatever it's going to cost, why can't you put that into a striker who potentially is in and around that type of figure to just kind of elevate you to the next level? A striker who's capable of scoring that many goals can put fear into so many defenses. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the Haaland comparison is almost silly. I get what Mo is saying, is that he's obviously a similar career path, but as players, I actually think they're fairly different. I would say it's just similarities in their height is probably the closest thing they have.
Can I say something before the people come in? Then Newcastle are linked to him because they have Alexander Isak. So that's exactly the situation that you should be in then.
Last summer.
And he's gonna be your starting striker.
I agree. I agree, and I agree with you. I feel like I don't get excited by this one. I must say that. I would with Isak. I would with some of the other names that we've been linked with in the past. But there ain't many out there that I look at and go, wow, how are we missing out on this guy? Let's just be real about this. There is no number 9 out there other than if Harry Kane becomes available or Haaland becomes available that you go, boom, you just take. Isak's the closest one for me. All of the others, Tonys, Watkins, Osimhen's, Victor Gyökeres, SESKO, some of the other names that are just I wouldn't go near. They're all a little bit like, meh, could work, could not. And I kind of feel like this is like that. So unless we're going to go and get a Kane and a Haaland, it's or Isak. It's a tough
Ollie
one.
Watkins could.
Yeah, I reckon Watkins or Solanke would be higher on my list for me as an Arsenal fan. I feel like both of them would probably
because they're Premier League proven, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. And I think they're both probably more suited to the Arsenal team. I think you know what you're getting. I think they know what they're walking into as well. I feel like SESKO, look, the issue with SESKO isn't it, is that in 2-3 seasons, people will be like, oh, we could have got him for 40, 50 million. I think that's the thing with him, because at his age, scoring the amount of goals that he is good. It's solid numbers. The issue is, though, is that Isak would be the striker for me that just seems perfect for Arsenal.
Yeah, Isak is the
I
one.
don't agree with that. I don't Stop saying why are you all on this panel trying to sell our players? Like, just
because you're not in Europe, and realistically, those players are at a level where they deserve to be playing in Europe and probably feel like they should. And that is ultimately why I think teams will look to Newcastle to potentially poach their players, because you've made some very good recruitment decisions in the last few years, and ultimately like where you finished in the league probably isn't good enough to keep those players.
It
And
The
would-
only
it
way you
would have
keep
been.
this player
It would
if
have
you
been.
sack your manager and get a big name.
Who, Eddie Howe?
Yeah, the only way to keep these players from
not
going
sure,
if they
Mo, because-
sack their man. I don't think that's
Who?
ideal.
With who? We've just been having this conversation with Chelsea and with Man United and all the rest of it. There's no top managers out there that are easy.
Thomas Tuchel to Newcastle. Pete, what do you reckon?
These guys have just been round the cycle. This is what we don't want to do at Newcastle United. It's just
I agree. I don't think it's
go around the cycle that Chelsea have been doing for the last 5-10 years, just recycling all.
Yeah,
their
but that's the point of
managers.
convincing the players. But that's the thing about convincing someone.
The players are convinced. Bruno Guimarães, Isaac, they've all had conversations or interviews where they haven't once questioned Eddie Howe. In fact, they've actually bigged him up.
No. They're convinced about the project because I thought you would challenge for the league this season.
I didn't believe that. I didn't think we'd
No, you're trolling there. No, you didn't. No, you did not think Newcastle would challenge.
There's no way.
No, I thought Newcastle would take a step up.
We're not
I
there.
literally thought Newcastle was signing Tonali,
Nowhere
and I
near
thought they would
that.
take a step up.
I didn't think they wouldn't get European football.
I didn't think they would challenge
honest.
to the point that Arsenal and Man City. I thought they would be game week like fourth, third, battling for fourth and third. I thought Newcastle would be there. To be honest, I know a lot of injuries and stuff that happened.
I didn't.
And I genuinely think you got to remember we finished 8 points off Champions League football with all of those injuries, with all of that, with a horrendous 4 or 5 months of just continual injuries. As King Holder just said, we were crippled by it. We only finished 8 points off Champions League football with despite all of that. And we actually finished in a position that probably should have got us European football. In 7 out of the last 8 years have got European football, but this season it didn't because Man United.
How have we got here, by the way? How have we got for who do Arsenal need up front and now Newcastle? My mind's gone, man. I'm like, where did we get? How do we get to this place? But anyway,
on the SESKO thing quickly.
Go on, mine.
You can't compare him to Haaland. Haaland scored like 40 odd goals at 19-20 for Dortmund in the Bundesliga.
And stood up in the Champions League as well.
Well, let's not do that because SESKO's a great prospect. He's a very, I managed to watch him live 30 minutes in the Champions League. Came on for RB Leipzig in the Etihad. And he's decent. He's all right. My issue is with the Arsenal is that wasn't the signing you all wanted. You would all talk that SESKO is a signing I would have expected Arsenal to make 2 years ago. Like a Gabriel
Chelsea now.
Signing. Yeah. Not this. I think Mo said this. This was meant to be the Liverpool summer where you went out and got the ready-made bang, bang, bang. Let's go. I didn't know you were doing a project striker, and I don't like saying project striker because it sounds disrespectful, but he kind of is.
Yeah,
aligned with the new contract.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
I'm just like, how have you gone from Isaac? Because I don't think you were ever getting Isaac because Newcastle, there was no release clause. Newcastle were talking 130, 140 to even get going on a conversation. No one was doing that. Then you went to Tona. Then you looked at Ollie Watkins, and you've gone to SESKO. He's SESKO. Now he could absolutely rock the world and be amazing. But deep down, a lot of Arsenal fans, that wasn't the striker you all thought.
Absolutely
that wasn't the guy coming in.
Absolutely not. And we were going to spend massive on either a striker and a midfielder, or we were going to spend massive on the midfielder and the striker. And it looks like we've gone around that route. It looks like we're going for the 50 million striker and the big midfielder. I don't know who that's going to be. No idea. But when I look at it, I do believe that SESKO is not what Arsenal need to guarantee us over the line. But Pete, I know you rate him.
I do.
I know you rate him.
Honestly, I genuinely believe I actually think this is the perfect Arsenal signing, and for reasons that a few of you on the panel have mentioned. I genuinely believe that this time next year, if he signs for Arsenal, we'll be having a very different conversation, and we'll be talking about how it was the perfect signing for Arsenal. This is the type of signing that Arsenal should be making. It might not be the guaranteed already established player there, but he has the ability to potentially win Arsenal a Premier League. Arsenal didn't need next season. Arsenal didn't need a striker to win them games in a lot of the games last season, but there were some games where they needed their striker to step up and be the difference. And I think in games next season, he will add that to what Arsenal already have. At 21 years old, he barely kicked a ball last season and got, 14, 15 goals last season. He only had 17 starts because Lois Openda played the majority of the games and got 30 goal contributions. That's why he didn't play much football last season. But when he came in, he did a job and he was fantastic. And for me, he made the wrong decision by going to Leipzig. I think it was the Red Bull situation, because so many teams in Europe were looking at him, but he stayed with Red Bull, went to Leipzig, and he played second fiddle. Like, he didn't want to be that. He wants to be the main guy. And he might not start the main guy if he signs for Arsenal. Havertz quite rightly might start in that position. But I genuinely believe once he gets his feet under the table, that very quickly, if we're looking at October, November time, and he starts really getting up to speed, you'll probably find he'll be starting pretty much every game. He's a guy that is big and tall and physical, great in the air, great with both feet. He's an absolute sharpshooter in front of goal. And at times last season, Arsenal missed that. He will add that to what they've already got. And I genuinely believe at 21 years old, he is the player that if Arsenal sign, will have for the next 6 or 7 years that will go on and be an absolute top player for Arsenal. Because this is what you need. You want a player that can come in and make a difference now, but also carry the can and take you forward. Because it's not just all based on what happens next season for Arsenal. Of course, you want to win the trophy.
It is.
To a point. But what you want is longevity. You want to be able to win the league next season, be able to go and win Arsenal a league the season after, and then challenge for the Champions League the season after, and grow with the club. That's what SESKO is bringing you. He's bringing you that.
Pete, all I heard is Pete, all I heard is that Arsenal came second to Manchester City, and they are going to sign a second choice striker from the 4th team in the Bundesliga. Instead of signing the first guy, they're signing the second striker in the 4th team in the Bundesliga.
He finished the season second striker, though. That's important to remember.
He is the player. He wants to play. He wants to be the main guy, and he might not start the season that way because of Havertz and how well Havertz ended the season. He ended it very, very well. But for me, I think once SESKO gets into the team, I think it'd be very hard to take him out of it. As Dan just mentioned, the way he ended the season for Leipzig, like that tells its own story. He was on fire.
Mate, I hope you're right, bro.
I do. I genuinely think. Look, it's not my club, so I don't really care. But I'm looking at him. I've seen him as a player. We were close to getting him last season because if he'd have signed, Wilson would have been sold. Like, so I'm looking. I've watched him from not last season, the season before. So I know how good he can be. Like when he was at Salzburg previously, but like I think that is the smart signing. And you've just all made the point. What other strikers are out there? There are not many top strikers out there, but you've got a striker at 21 years old that's banging the goals in, that's not even playing every week, that you put him in as first choice striker will get you goals, not just for next season, but the seasons after that. They're a commodity.
Arsenal looking for instant bang now. They don't want to look 3 years down the line.
I think he can do it. This is the
point.
They
don't want a project.
Do it for Arsenal.
No, it's a guy. Listen, I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I don't think he's ready to take Arsenal onto the title. All right, would you say he's better than Gabriel Jesus?
Yeah, as a striker, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
He absolutely shits on Nketiah. Nketiah needs to
Gabriel
be
Jesus had a far better goal scoring record than SESKO at this age. Far better. He had a 2-in-1 ratio.
Yeah, but SESKO's is that this season, though.
No, but Gabriel Jesus had the best goals to minutes ratio at Manchester City. He was even better than Aguero at the time.
Yeah, he probably
that was only 18 months ago. And look at him now.
Well,
listen, I'm not saying he's not a great. I'm not saying he's not.
No, I know what you're saying, Mine, and I'm with you. Mo. I think we need somebody now.
What Arsenal fans were telling us, Mo, Dan, we all been on shows that wasn't what they were saying.
No,
they
I agree.
A ready-made guy.
Jesus is 27. Sesko's turned 21 today. How's that work out in terms of 18
You
months?
guys are still treating Arsenal as a project. That's the difference between
that's
what
my point.
You guys are still treating Arsenal as looking down the road 5, 6, 7 years from now. There might be a complete change. For example, if Arsenal falls off, imagine if Arsenal finished third or something.
My point is, Dan, Gabriel Jesus is meant to be the missing piece to go into Arsenal.
I think he probably was up there, wasn't he, until that knee injury, though?
No, he wasn't scoring goal in his last season at City. He dropped off because he did his ligaments at Crystal Palace, twisted his knee at Sellers Park.
Jesus is a winger, man. He's not going to be number 9. Jesus is a winger for us, like in my opinion. I think that earlier on we talked about Kudus or Olise or Neto. I actually think Jesus will be the backup to Saka if we get a number 9 in, which I think we will. That's what I think will happen now. So I look at it and I think that it's going to be this SESKO. Doesn't look like we're linked with any of the others. I would have taken Gyökeres over him. I would have taken Tony and Watkins over him. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. SESKO looks to be the guy. And ZINCHENKO, just very quickly, looks like he could be going to Bayern Munich. Vincent Kompany's first signing, obviously knows him very well. I'd be okay with that. I've kind of tapped out with ZINCHENKO. Defensively, liability. I like him on the ball. Offensively, okay. Defensively, a shambles. And to be fair, Man City fans told me that when I knew we were signing Jesus and ZINCHENKO. They said, great on the ball, can't defend, don't play him left back because he'll lose your goals. And that's exactly what he's done. Like the last 2 years, he's lost his games and goals. It's just been poor for me. And I think Timber will play there ahead of him. Just lastly, Martin, before we do close, anything on Manchester City's horizon? And we're not going to talk about 115 because we'll be here for another half hour.
Yeah, I go to bed dreaming of 115. It's quite fun. For as far as I'm aware, no, there's a little bit of quietness because I think Pep needs to sort this. That we need to get this Pep stuff sorted out. Because the trouble is, you can't bring in 4 or 5 players, and then a new manager comes in, and then go right. The new manager goes, "Don't fancy them 4 or 5." What do you do then? We're not careful, and this is what I said last season. We're going into a potential Jurgen Klopp situation, which I said I didn't like personally from a football fan point of view. I don't like managers doing that. It never ends well. It causes too much confusion, too much uncertainty, and it isn't great.
Listen, I think that players will definitely be looking at Manchester City thinking, I'm going to go there, guaranteed trophies with Pep. If Pep isn't there, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do now. Yeah, exactly. And it's a serious one. Like if Pep, I'm praying that Pep Guardiola goes after this season. Of course I am.
That's my point, Dan. Arsenal are in such a good position. Yeah. That's why I was a bit thing with the SESKO is because if Pep goes, you get that guy, that's you for 2 years.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. You're right. 100% you're right. But listen, it's going to be a busy window, 100% for sure. I have to say, I'm excited for what's ahead. Euros to come, transfer window, transfer news as always. We're going to leave it there. Big up Dan for coming on. Big up Pete for coming on. Big up to Mo. Big up to Martin. Make sure you go follow all of these guys. Their links will be in the description. So please make sure that you click and go and subscribe. Footy Judge Mo will probably be back later because every time I'm on YouTube, he's online doing something live. Pete, likewise, Loaded Mag. Make sure you go over there and subscribe. Make sure you're following Dan and, of course, Martin and the Mancunian way as well. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. We're out of here, people. Laters.